I'm in conversation with Shankar Prasad, the founder and the chief formulator at Plum, which is a homegrown skincare brand. We're in their lab where most of these products are actually developed. Shankar, thank you so much for speaking with me about your
My
products.
pleasure, and thank you for coming and looking at our lab and seeing what we do.
The holy grail, na? IIT, HUL, McKinsey,
Yeah.
ISB.
Honestly, I'm not saying it because it's fashionable to say it, but one thing you realize is there's no sort of peak you get onto. It's always a journey. You just keep seeing new things. So for me, then I left it all. Started off with a table and a chair.
How long ago?
2013 July, so 12 years back. There's no staff for the first 1.5, 2 years. So I used to do everything from Facebook advertising to manufacturing, delivering the goods, setting up the Shopify website, everything.
But did it seem back then that with HUL, and you knew the size and the clout that HUL
Sure.
had already in the market, was there room for a new startup?
A lot of people used to ask me this, right? And people said, you don't have a fairness cream, you don't have this, you don't have that. I said, see, two things. First, you look at the countries abroad, you always see a thick, fat tail of brands which are different, which we call indie brands. I learned a term back then called clean slate brands. You start with a clean slate and just build something. That's very exciting. And that's actually a strength rather than a weakness.
So, what was the from a customer point of view? What was the gap for Plum?
So I saw 2, 3 gaps. One is on ingredient transparency. Remember, we were talking a decade ago, even more than a decade ago, where even the ingredient lists were not properly put on the pack. So one of the first things that I put down at that point in time is we will be very transparent about our ingredients. Not just in terms of what you declare on pack. People come back with a lot of questions. They want to know the why behind it. So the first insight is we will tell them what's inside and why. The second insight, I started seeing younger people around me not bother so much about skin tone. If you go back 15, 20 years into the market, looking Gora, looking a different skin tone was the thing. Like I have 2 young daughters. I could see conversations around them where skin tone was not featuring in that conversation at all. So I was like, something is changing here. People are not that unidimensional about how they're talking about their skin. And that was the second insight. And the third one is also about being a brand that has a purpose. So we started off with Be Good on our packs, right? And Plum Goodness, the name sort of has still stuck to us, even though technically we are Plum as a brand, but a lot of people still refer to us as Plum Goodness. So there's a lot of goodness that the brand actually started saying, listen, I'm here to just do good, and we'll go beyond and actually see. For the longest time, we gave away 1% of our revenue for environmental causes. Right? So that's sort of brands with a purpose, brands with a cause, brands that tell the truth, brands that welcome a dialogue. I thought that's the space that consumers are liking, and that trend thankfully has continued, and it's a great place for us to be in.
Why is your brand vegan, and what does that mean?
What it means is nothing animal derived, either in terms of the ingredients or in terms of testing of the finished product has gone into the product that you're using. Now, why is that important? Because why go after something when you have, let's say, simpler ways to do it or non-animal ways to do it? And what we realize as we're starting out is a lot of things. So take, for example, glycerin, take, for example, squalane. Many of these were, given the level of industrialization in the last century, a lot of this was animal derived. Not all of it is cruel, but it is animal derived. You don't know where it is coming in from. But we are getting plant derived ingredients which do the job just as well. And for us, it was a great, again, from a clean slate point of view, to start saying, why use anything animal derived if you can help it?
Do you feel that this space is really cluttered right now? And, as a customer, there's this fear about what to trust and what not to trust. Is there a tendency to trust the homegrown brands less or more? What is your experience?
It used to be the case, and I think our colonial hangover is partly to blame for that, that anything that comes from outside is considered superior in some fashion or form. I will not lie that I myself I think in the direction sometimes, but that's changed a lot. And in coming specifically down to beauty and personal care, Indian needs, Indian skin type, Indian weather conditions, Indian atmospheric conditions, how much time we spend in air conditioning versus not. So all of that is not a one size one swipe fits all approach that comes from somewhere, says this is what works and take it. It's not going to work. So, for example, creams tend to be heavy. Makeup tones never match Indian skin tones. That face washes don't cleanse well enough for the kind of pollution that we
and humidity that we have. Yes.
that we face. At a very basic level, these are the things. Plus, at a very subconscious level, Indian consumers crave for a certain type of finish on the skin. We like it matte. We like it clear. So I am not sure if every brand out there from abroad can fulfill these needs.
But I feel like there's also a challenge, and this is not just to do with skincare.
Sure.
The regulations for how things are produced for markets overseas are a lot tighter than the regulations for how things are produced for India. And that's across the board.
Thankfully, to the best of my knowledge in beauty and personal care, the Indian standards have largely kept up to pace.
Okay.
So if I go back to my time in actual R&D, there is this IS Indian Standard 4707. 4707 talks about ingredients generally recognized as safe grass in beauty and personal care products. I was surprised or pleasantly surprised at that point in time to see that IS 4707 actually derived a lot from the European standards at that point in time. I think what the Indian regulators have done quite well over a period of time is we've put at least beauty and personal care regulations almost at par with what's going on outside. Secondly, what's happened is Indian consumers have started demanding that ingredient transparency. For example, is your fragrance IFRA certified? IFRA is International Fragrance Regulatory Association. So if there's they review the chemical composition of fragrances, which to this date is a trade secret from the fragrance houses. That's reviewed at a IFRA level to make sure that safety keeps moving up a few notches every year. And that compliance is maintained in India as well.
The other challenge, of course, with buying any skincare product is that they will tell you a bunch of things on the box. But technically, as a customer, to be fully frank, we're just going by the packaging.
Sure.
How trustworthy is this packaging? Because there is no way to check what's actually in the box or in the jar, right?
Yes.
Is this something that you faced? Do your customers ask you for proof?
Oh, yes. Whether they ask for it or not, I think it's a responsibility to do it. I give a very simple example to my team. Let's assume that a cream of ours costs 500 rupees. Person has 500 rupees in their pocket. They have a million uses for that 500 rupees. They can buy a pizza, they can go watch a movie, they can buy a top for themselves, whatever. Why should they put 500 rupees and buy your moisturizer? This is a question I ask inside a lot. And answer has to come from what the product does for them. What I put on pack should be what it does for them. So for example, if a moisturizer I'm saying is going to give you more hydration, make you feel less oily in a humid environment after 6 or 8 hours out in the sun, it better deliver on that.
So fundamentally, you're telling me you try as much as possible with your brand to deliver what you're promising on the box so that you're building long-term trust with your customer.
That's the game.
Because technically, as a skincare brand, that's the only way to do it.
Absolutely. There is no other way to do it. You can, as they say, fool a few people some of the time, some people all of the time, but you can't fool all people all the time. With skincare, you can't even fool some people all the time. It's going to get called out very, very soon.
You know, the other thing that I find interesting about skincare is that it's so trend-driven. Right?
Yeah.
Even, especially now with Instagram, that, okay, there is this Korean glass skin now that everybody wants. Korean products have become popular, and a bunch of Indian products now look a lot like the Korean products. Because my question to you is also, your jar looks a little bit like a Korean product as well. Is that deliberate?
Cultural influence cannot be ruled out.
Okay.
And it is not deliberate. If it is there, it is perhaps subconscious. I will not run away from that.
Okay.
Personally, I'm a big fan of the right aesthetic, and I think Koreans bring the right aesthetic to begin with. When you see something, you just see it the right way. Secondly, some of the science that they put into their product, they are very picky and they are very clear about why they are putting that, what it is going to do for skin at a cellular level, and how it's all put together in a package that delivers you delight. And that, I think, is holy grail for skincare. And that's the reason overall in the industry, there's a lot of wide-eyed awe about what Korea brings in. And that's rightly placed. And we don't try to copy. That's one thing for sure. At the industry
What sort of rigor do you put in your R&D for your products?
So it starts even before the product is made. It starts with saying, what is the problem we are looking to solve? Rice water, niacinamide with marine ferment extract, with squalane, with glycerin. Now, why do I have all these things in my product? Because We're trying to solve a specific problem here. I need to moisturize the skin, yet I need to control the extent of oiliness on skin after some point in time. And if your moisturizer also goes some way in actually helping you achieve some kind of reduction in blemishes, some kind of smoothening of texture, that's how we choose this sort of menu of ingredients. Right? It's not just about putting rice water. It's also about choosing the sort of cohort of ingredients around that makes it work well. So take rice water for example. It's a particular strain of Japanese rice fermented with a certain type of yeast, which results in a rice ferment extract which has the amino acids that your skin needs for smoother texture. Now, there's a certain manufacturer of this who has given us that if you use my rice water at the percentage that we are putting here, let's say 1%, that tested in my clinical trials that this is the improvement in skin texture that I've seen. Do we take their word for it? No. So because I am not just putting that rice water, I'm also putting my niacinamide and all my other things. So when we are making a claim that brighter skin, 2x more hydrated skin, I send it to a certified clinical testing laboratory where it's a 36 volunteer study, instrument measured about the kind of claims that we are making. It's not like 90% people thought that their skin was. That's also sometimes part of the claim, because something what you feel is as important as what it does. But that's not the only thing that we're talking about. We are talking about, when we're saying 2x more hydration, we actually measure the level of moisture in the skin using standardized instruments supervised by clinical testers.
I did notice, I was looking at your product portfolio. It says brighter skin on a couple of boxes. Is brighter code for fairer?
Brighter in our view is basically skin that is smoother, that is relatively free of blemishes. No one, we are not advocating perfection. We are advocating improvement that is possible without doing your stuff that damages your skin, without putting things on that you probably shouldn't be putting on skin. So it's really about clearer skin, fewer blemishes, fewer marks, smoother skin, pores that are more even, not uneven. So we're talking about those aspects, and that is somewhere where the glass skin also goes, which is about glass is water at the end of the day. I mean, again, it's an idealistic rendition of what skin should be, and I'm not a big fan of the term, to be very honest. But just to use that analogy, it's smoother, it's free of imperfections, it is free of uh, you know stuff that makes it look unpolished, right? So that's the kind of concept of brightness we're talking about. So in short, it is fewer blemishes, fewer marks, and again, when we say it, it is tested in a lab.
What are active ingredients and do you use them? What do they do?
Actually, any ingredient is active ingredient. Anything that does an action on skin. Things like vitamin C, retinol, kojic acid, niacinamide, salicylic acid, which are very specific chemical molecules proven to deliver certain benefits. For example, vitamin C works on pigmentation. Alpha arbutin works on pigmentation. So actives is just the term that I think partly the industry, partly consumers are beginning to use for scientific or industrially derived ingredients in skincare. Industrially derived sounds scary, but use ingredients in the right proportion with the right cohort of ingredients, and you have a formulation that actually delights and delivers.
So basically, you've got a moisturizer out, but you're also putting out a test over the counter where we can test our own skin. How does it work?
Okay, so this is what it is, but instead of talking about it, let me actually show you.
Okay.
Let's go. We have here what we call the Hydr-oh-meter. The Hydr-oh-meter is a simple probe, but the moment I put it on skin, the skin is going to transmit the electricity, and how much capacitance is there in the skin indicates how much is the hydration level, which is the top reading, and how much is the oil content in the skin. Right. Let me put this on unmoisturized part of my face. It's 35% hydration, 30, almost 37% oil. Now let me apply Plum rice water and niacinamide gel moisturizer. We wait for this moisturizer to sink in a little bit, and we go again. And what do we read here? It's 55% hydration, 17% oil. So there's more hydration, less oil. So we have the proof.
If you ask me, that's the real product.
So there you go. Plum's rice water, a niacinamide gel moisturizer. We have the proof for more hydration, less oil.